The massive hall fell silent as Ambassador Sci-Fi walked to the center platform. His crystal body caught the light from 100 different worlds, each beam showing the worry that filled every corner of the great meeting place. 200 alien races had come here today. None of them had good news to share. Jake Morrison sat in the back row, trying to look like just another trade representative. His dark blue uniform was plain, with no special marks or symbols. Next to him, Lisa. Rodriguez checked her datapad one more time. They both knew this meeting would change everything. They just hoped they were ready for what was coming. Sci-Fi raised his forearms to get attention. His voice carried across the huge room without any help from speakers. That was one of the things that made his people good at talking to others. His words were clear and sad. Friends from across the galaxy, we are here because our homes are dying. The enemy we thought was just an old story has returned. The Void Swarm is real, and they are destroying everything in their path. Low sound came from the crowd. It was the sound of fear from hundreds of different kinds of beings. Some made clicking noises, others hummed, and a few just stayed very quiet. Jake had heard many of these sounds before, but never all at once like this. 17 worlds have fallen in just 3 months, Sci-Fi continued.
Ow.
People are dead. Our best ships, our strongest weapons, our smartest plans. Nothing works against them. The machines learn from every battle. They get stronger while we get weaker. A tall, thin alien with blue skin stood up. Jake recognized her as Commander Yuki from the Stellar Defense Force. Her voice shook as she spoke. My fleet attacked the machines near Proxima Station last week. We had 40 ships. Only 3 made it back. The enemy ships were different than before. It already learned how to stop our weapons from the last battle. It was like fighting ghosts that could not be hurt. More aliens started talking at once. Each one had the same story. No matter what they tried, the Void Swarm was always one step ahead. The machines did not just fight back. They learned and became impossible to beat. Jake felt Lisa touch his arm gently. She was pointing at something on her datapad. The numbers were not good. If these reports were right, the machines would reach the core worlds within 6 months. After that, there would be nowhere left to run. An old, wise-looking alien slowly stood up from the front row. High Chancellor Vexstar was older than almost everyone in the room. His people, the Corellians, lived for thousands of years and remembered things that others had forgotten. When he spoke, everyone listened. I have something to tell you all, Vexstar said in a voice that sounded like rocks grinding together. This is not the first time the Void Swarm has come to our galaxy. 1,000 years ago, they attacked us before. Back then, we were also losing. Our weapons did nothing. Ships were destroyed. It looked like the end of everything. The room became so quiet that Jake could hear his own heart beating. This was new information. None of the history books talked about an earlier attack. But something happened, Vexstar continued. The machines were driven back, not by us. By any of the great powers you see in this room today? Something else helped us. Someone else fought them and won. Who? Several voices asked at the same time. The old alien looked sad and confused. We do not know. All records of that time were destroyed or hidden. All we know is that the help came from the outer regions of space, from places we had never explored. The beings who helped us did not want to be known. After the machines were gone, they disappeared back into the darkness. Jake and Lisa looked at each other. They knew exactly who Vexstar was talking about, but they could not say anything. Not yet. Ambassador Sci-Fi spoke again. This is why we have called this emergency meeting. If there are others out there who can help us, we must find them. Must ask them to help us again. A short, round alien with many eyes raised one of his hands. How do we find someone who does not want to be found? How do we contact beings who hide in space? We broadcast a message to every star system in the galaxy, Sci-Fi answered. We tell them what is happening. We ask for help from anyone who can give it. Even if there is only a small chance that someone will answer, we must try. And if no one comes, asked another voice from the crowd. The crystal alien's light grew dimmer, and we will fight until there is nothing left to fight for. We will not give up, even if it means the end of our civilizations. The meeting continued for several hours. Each species shared their losses and their fears, wanted to run to the far edges of space. Others wanted to make one final attack with everything they had left. But everyone agreed on one thing. They needed help from somewhere. Jake listened to every word, but his mind was thinking about other things. 300 years ago, humans had tried to join the Galactic community. It had not gone well.
Ow.
Other races took one look at Earth and decided that humans were too dangerous to be trusted. They called Earth a death world and said that anything living there must be a monster. So humanity had decided to work in secret. Human ships looked like alien ships. Human soldiers used fake names and false identities. They helped when they could, but always from the shadows.
Oh.
Most species never knew they had been saved by humans. But now things were different. The galaxy was dying, and the old rules did not matter anymore. As the meeting began to end, Sci-fi made the final announcement. We will send our message to every corner of space. To any species, any civilization, any group that has the power to help us, please come forward. Show yourselves. Help us save our galaxy. The aliens began to leave the Great Hall, talking quietly among themselves. Many looked hopeless. Others seemed angry. All of them were scared. Jake waited until most of the crowd was gone before he moved. He walked slowly toward the exit, acting like he had nothing important to do. But his hand moved to the small device hidden in his jacket. The quantum communicator was no bigger than his thumb, but it could send a message across the entire galaxy in seconds. Lisa followed close behind him. She was also trying to look normal, but Jake could see the excitement in her eyes. They had been waiting for this day for a long time. When they reached Jake's small ship, he finally activated the communicator. The message he sent was short and simple, but he knew the people on Earth would understand what it meant. The children are asking for help. Then he turned off the device and sat back in his chair. Soon, very soon, the galaxy would learn the truth about humanity. The question was whether they would be grateful for the help or terrified of what humans could really do. Lisa looked at the stars through the ship's window. Do you think we're making the right choice? Jake thought about all the alien families he had seen in the meeting hall. He thought about the fear in their voices and the sadness in their eyes. He thought about the billions of beings who had already died and the billions more who would die if nothing changed. Yes, he said quietly. It's time to step out of the shadows. In the distance, space looked calm and peaceful. But Jake knew that somewhere out there, the machines were still coming. Soon, they would learn what happened when you threaten the children of a death world. The message reached Earth in less than 20 seconds. Deep under the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Kate Sullivan was drinking her morning coffee when the emergency signal started flashing on her screen. She had been waiting for this call for over 30 years. The Shadow Council met within an hour. 12 people sat around a table that officially did not exist, in a room that was not on any map. These were the people who had been guiding humanity's secret activities across the galaxy for 3 centuries. They had no fancy titles that other species would recognize. They were just humans who had decided long ago that sometimes the best way to help was to stay hidden. Jake's message is clear, Admiral Sullivan said as she looked at each person around the table. The Void Swarm is back, and the aliens need our help. The question is whether we're ready to show ourselves to the galaxy. Dr. Ryan Clark, a thin man with gray hair and tired eyes, opened his folder of research papers. I've been studying Void Swarm technology for 15 years. The pieces we collected from old battle sites tell an interesting story. He put several strange metal objects on the table. They looked like broken machine parts, but they seemed to move slightly, even though they were clearly dead. These fragments are from the last time the Void Swarm attacked, 1,000 years ago. I've found traces of the weapons that destroyed them. The energy signatures, the blast patterns, the metal composition, it's all human technology. But it's more advanced than anything we have today. A woman with short red hair leaned forward. General Amy Taylor had been in charge of humanity's secret military operations for 20 years. Are you saying humans from the future went back in time to fight the machines? Either that, or we had a golden age that we somehow forgot about, Dr. Clark replied. But there's something else. The way these machines were destroyed, it wasn't through superior firepower, it was through confusion. The Void Swarm couldn't understand what was happening to them. Meanwhile, 3 star systems away, Lieutenant Ben Harper was seeing the enemy for himself. His ship, the USS Phantom, was the newest human stealth vessel. It looked nothing like the smooth, elegant ships that aliens preferred. Instead, it was covered in strange angles and rough surfaces that made it nearly impossible to detect. Ben was watching the Bentharian homeworld die. The peaceful aliens had never hurt anyone in their long history. They were artists and poets, not soldiers. But that did not matter to the Void Swarm. The machines fell from the sky like metal rain, destroying everything they touched. "This is terrible," said his co-pilot, Sergeant Carol White. She had been with Human Special Forces for 10 years, but she had never seen anything like this. "Those poor people don't have any weapons. They can't fight back." Ben watched as Bentharian families tried to escape in small ships. The Void Swarm machines followed them like hunting animals. But as he watched, Ben noticed something important. "Look at how the machines are fighting," he said, pointing at his screen. "They're using the same attacks over and over. They learned how to beat Bentharian shields, so now they use that same method against every ship." "So what?" Carol asked. "They're learning from the aliens, but aliens fight in predictable ways. They use logic and strategy and careful planning. Humans don't fight like that. We fight like animals that are trying to survive." Back on Earth, engineer Mia Foster was working in her lab deep under the ocean. She had spent her whole life taking alien technology and making it work for humans. The problem was that alien technology was designed for beings who lived on safe, easy worlds. It broke easily and stopped working when things got difficult. "Admiral, you need to see this," Mia said over her communicator. She was looking at a broken alien weapon that had been damaged by the Void Swarm. This weapon was designed to fire energy bolts in perfect straight lines. Very accurate, very efficient. But look what happened when the Void Swarm adapted to it. On her screen, she showed how the machines had learned to predict exactly where the energy bolts would go. Once they understood the pattern, they could avoid the attacks completely. "Now look at this," she continued, picking up a human weapon. "This gun was designed for fighting wild animals on Earth. It doesn't fire in straight lines. It spreads shot in random patterns because Earth animals are fast and unpredictable. The Void Swarm would have a much harder time adapting to this." Admiral Sullivan nodded slowly, "Because you can't predict chaos." "Exactly, and humans are very good at controlled chaos." The Admiral called up more reports from across the galaxy. Human agents had been quietly helping alien civilizations for centuries. They had stopped pirate attacks that regular forces could not handle. They had rescued people from disasters that should have been impossible to survive. They had solved problems that the smartest, alien minds could not figure out. But they had always been careful to make it look like accidents or luck. A pirate ship would suddenly have engine problems at just the right moment. Rescue ships would arrive just as the last survivors were about to die. Solutions to impossible problems would be left anonymously where the right people would find them. "We've been preparing for this day for 300 years, Admiral Sullivan said. "Ever since the first aliens called us monsters and told us to stay away from civilized space." She remembered the old stories. When humans first tried to join the galactic community, the other species had been horrified. Earth's gravity was 3 times stronger than most worlds. The radiation levels would kill most aliens in minutes. The planet was full of deadly storms, poisonous creatures, natural disasters that happened every day. The aliens had created a special classification for Earth, Class 12 Deathworld. It was the highest danger rating they had ever given to any planet. Most species thought that anything living on Earth had to be a barely controlled monster, so humans had made a choice. Instead of trying to convince the galaxy that they were safe, they decided to work in secret. They created false identities and fake corporations. They built ships that looked alien on the outside but worked with human technology on the inside. They helped when they could, but never took credit for it. The question now, Admiral Sullivan continued, is whether we reveal ourselves to help. With the Void Swarm, what's the alternative? Asked General Taylor. Let the galaxy die while we stay hidden. Dr. Clark looked up from his research papers. I don't think we have a choice. My analysis shows that the Void Swarm is adapting faster this time. They're learning from 1,000 years of galactic military development. If we don't help, everyone dies, including us, added Mia Foster. If the machines destroy the galaxy, they'll eventually find Earth too. Admiral Sullivan stood up and walked to the big screen on the wall. It showed a map of the entire galaxy, with red dots marking where the Void Swarm had attacked. There were already too many red dots, and more appeared every day. Send word to all our hidden bases, she ordered. Begin Phase 1 of the revelation. Protocol. It's time to show the galaxy who we really are. General Taylor smiled for the first time in months. How many ships can we have ready in a week? All of them, the Admiral replied. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon we've been building and training for the last 3 centuries. If we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. Lieutenant Harper's voice came through the communicator from his position near the dying Bentharian world. I'm seeing something you need to know about. The machines are definitely adapting to conventional tactics, but they seem confused when things don't follow normal patterns. Chaos factor. Good work, Ben. Get back to base. We're going to need every pilot for what comes next. As the Shadow Council meeting ended, Admiral Sullivan looked once more at the galaxy map. Soon, very soon, those red dots would start disappearing. The machines had never faced anything like humanity before. They had adapted to fight logical, predictable enemies. But humans had learned to fight on a world that tried to kill them every single day. They had learned that sometimes the best strategy was no strategy at all. They had learned that the best weapon was the one your enemy could not understand. The Void Swarm was about to learn what happened when you attacked a galaxy that had Deathworlders hiding in the shadows. Prepare the fleet, Admiral Sullivan said quietly. It's time to come home. The Rigel 7 system was dying. General Alex Carter watched from the bridge of his command ship as the largest. Void Swarm fleet yet seen tore through the alien defenses like paper. 3 separate galactic fleets had already been destroyed in the past 6 hours. The evacuation ships were being hunted down one by one. Sir, the Alterian flagship is taking heavy damage, reported his communications officer. They're requesting immediate assistance. Alex looked at the tactical display. The alien ships were fighting bravely, but they were using the same careful strategies that had failed everywhere else. Perfect formations, calculated firing patterns, logical retreat routes. The Void Swarm had learned to counter all of it. Are all human ships in position? Alex asked. Yes, sir. 47 vessels cloaked and ready throughout the system. Aliens still don't know we're here. Alex nodded. For 300 years, humanity had perfected the art of staying invisible. Their ships used technology that the aliens had never seen before. Instead of energy shields that could be detected, human vessels used thick armor plating and strange angles that scattered sensor beams. Instead of smooth holes designed for efficiency, human ships looked rough and dangerous. Dr. Stone, are your medical teams ready? Dr. Emma Stone looked up from her portable hospital setup. She was a small woman with steady hands and kind eyes. But Alex knew she had seen more combat than most soldiers. Ready, General? Though I'm not sure the aliens will trust human medicine. They'll trust it when it saves their lives, Alex replied. Danny, what's the status on Ghostwing? Pilot Danny Williams grinned from his fighter cockpit. He was young and looked like he should be in school, but he was the best pilot humanity had ever produced. 36 fighters ready to cause trouble, sir. The machines won't know what hit them. Captain Davis, is the Indomitable ready for what we discussed? Captain Nicole Davis's voice came through clearly from the human battleship. We're as ready as we'll ever be for something this crazy, General. The crew thinks you've lost your mind, but they're with you anyway. Alex smiled. That was exactly the attitude they would need for this plan to work. All ships, begin decloak sequence. It's time to introduce ourselves to the galaxy again. One by one, 47 human ships appeared throughout the Rigel 7 system. The alien commanders immediately started sending confused messages to each other. Their databases were going crazy, throwing up warnings about unknown vessel types and recommending extreme caution protocols. The first thing the aliens noticed was how strange human ships looked. Where alien vessels were smooth and elegant, human ships were covered in weapons, armor plating, and what looked like spare parts welded on wherever they would fit. The ships looked like they had been built in someone's garage by people who expected everything to break at the worst possible moment. "Attention all Allied forces," General Carter's voice echoed across every communication channel in the system. "This is General Alex Carter of the Terran Defense Force. We're here to help." The response was immediate chaos. Alien captains started shouting questions and warnings. The computer systems on every alien ship began flashing red alerts about Deathworld species detected and recommend immediate evacuation from area. But before anyone could ask questions, the Void Swarm made their move. The machines had detected the new ships and immediately began adapting their attack patterns. Within seconds, they had calculated the most efficient way to destroy the human vessels using the same methods that had worked against every other galactic fleet that was there. First mistake. "Ghostwing, you are clear to engage," Alex ordered. "Show them what chaos looks like." Danny Williams led his squadron of fighters straight into the heart of the Void Swarm formation. Any alien pilot would have called it suicide. The machines outnumbered them 10 to 1. And they were flying directly into the heaviest concentration of enemy fire. But Danny was not thinking like an alien pilot. He was thinking like a human who had learned to fly by dodging lightning storms on Earth. Instead of following logical attack patterns, he led his fighters in what could only be described as controlled madness. One moment they were diving toward the largest enemy ship. The next second, they were spinning away to attack a completely different target. They changed direction, speed, and tactics every few seconds. Sometimes they flew in formation, sometimes they scattered like frightened birds, and sometimes they did both at the same time. The Void Swarm machines tried to adapt, but there was nothing to adapt to. Every time they calculated a pattern, the humans had already changed to something completely different. The machines' perfect learning algorithms became useless when there was nothing logical to learn. "This is impossible," came a voice over the alien communication channels. "How are they doing that? Their tactics make no sense." Dr. Stone was watching the battle from her medical station when the first alien rescue pod crashed near her ship. The 3 survivors inside were badly hurt, with injuries that alien medicine could not treat. Void Swarm weapons did terrible damage that got worse over time, but Emma had seen similar injuries before. Growing up on Earth meant dealing with radiation poisoning, toxic wounds, and trauma that would kill most aliens instantly. She immediately started treating the survivors with techniques that alien doctors considered primitive and dangerous. To her alien patients, it looked like she was making their injuries worse. She cut away damaged tissue that alien medicine would try to save. She used drugs that would be deadly to healthy alien biology. She worked fast and rough, without the careful precision that alien doctors preferred. But it worked. Within minutes, the alien survivors were stable and healing. Word spread quickly through the evacuation fleet. The human doctor could treat injuries that no one else could fix. Captain Davis was having her own problems aboard the Indomitable, the human battleship. Had taken what should have been fatal damage when 3 Void Swarm vessels focused their fire on her. The alien observers expected to see the ship explode or retreat. Instead, the Indomitable kept fighting. Her armor was cracked and smoking. Half her weapons were offline. Her engines were making terrible noises. But she continued firing at the enemy ships like nothing had happened. Captain Davis came a worried voice from the Alterian flagship. "Your ship appears to be severely damaged. You should retreat for repairs." Nicole laughed as another enemy blast shook her ship. "Damaged. This old girl is just getting warmed up. We've taken worse hits during training exercises." It was true. Human ships were built by people who expected everything to go wrong at the worst possible time. Every system had backups, and every backup had backups. They were designed to keep fighting, even when they should have been destroyed. The battle continued for 6 hours, but the outcome was clear after the first 30 minutes. The Void Swarm machines, which had easily defeated every other galactic fleet, were being systematically destroyed by opponents they could not understand or predict. When the last machine ship finally exploded, the system fell quiet except for the sound of rescue operations. Dozens of alien species were picking up survivors and trying to understand what they had just witnessed. "General Carter," came Ambassador Zephyhi's voice over the communication channel. "We owe you a debt that can never be repaid, but I must ask, who are you? Where did you come from?" Alex looked at his bridge crew. They were tired, dirty, and some of them were injured.
Ow.
But they were smiling. For the first time in 300 years, humans had fought openly as themselves, instead of hiding behind fake identities. "We're from a little planet called Earth," Alex replied, "and we've been helping the galaxy for a long time. You just never knew it was us." "Earth." Zephyhi sounded confused. "But Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world. Nothing from Earth should be able to survive in civilized space. That's exactly why we can help you," Alex said. "When you grow up on a world that tries to kill you every day, you learn how to fight things that seem impossible to beat, avoid. Swarm is just another predator to us." Dr. Stone's voice joined the conversation from her medical bay. "I've treated over 200 alien survivors in the past few hours, injuries that your doctors said were untreatable. The techniques we use seem rough to you because they were developed for emergencies in environments where gentle care would mean death." Captain Davis added her own comment, while her crew worked to repair the Indomitable. "Your ships are beautiful and efficient, but they're designed for a safe, predictable galaxy. Our ships are designed for the assumption that everything will go wrong, and we'll have to keep fighting anyway." The alien commanders were quiet for a long moment. Finally, Ambassador Zephyhi spoke again. "You said you've been helping the galaxy for a long time. What did you mean?" Alex smiled. "Every time your people have faced something impossible, every time you've been saved by mysterious circumstances, every time a problem has been solved by unknown benefactors, that was probably us. We've been your guardian angels, working from the shadows." "But why stay hidden?" asked another alien voice. "Because 300 years ago, you told us we were too dangerous to be trusted," Alex replied without anger. "So we decided to help. Anyway, but quietly. We've been saving your people and solving your problems while pretending to be someone else." Colonel Sam Parker stood at the edge of a cliff that dropped down into a sea of lava. The planet Zarian 3 had been declared completely lost 3 days ago. The Void Swarm had covered the surface with their machines, and the volcanic activity made rescue impossible. Every alien rescue team had been forced to give up, but Sam was not an alien. It was a human who had grown up near active volcanoes on Earth. To him, this was just another Tuesday. Readings show 1,700 Bentharian civilians trapped in the underground city, reported his team member, Corporal Lisa King. She was checking her scanner while standing in heat that would cook most aliens in minutes. The tunnels are flooded with poisonous gas, and the temperature is over 200 degrees. "Sounds cozy," Sam said with a grin. "It's just like the caves back home in Hawaii. How's our equipment holding up?" "The alien rescue suits failed after 10 minutes, replied Sergeant Mike Davis. "Good thing we brought our own gear." The human rescue suits were thick, ugly, and looked like they had been built by someone who expected to walk through fire, because they had been. Every piece of human equipment was designed for the assumption that the user might need to survive. In conditions that would kill everything else, Sam led his team down the cliff face, using ropes and metal spikes. As they descended, alien observers watched from orbit with amazement and horror. What the humans were doing should have been impossible. The heat, the toxic air, the unstable ground, any of these things should have killed them. But the humans moved through the deadly environment like they were taking a walk in a park. They breathed the poisonous air through filters designed for Earth's worst industrial accidents. They walked on ground so hot it melted their boot soles, but the boots were designed to be replaced during missions. They climbed down rock faces that crumbled at the touch, but they had learned to climb on Earth where everything was trying to fall down or explode. Meanwhile, Dr. Rachel Morgan was making the discovery that would change everything. In her laboratory aboard the human research ship Discovery, she had been studying captured Void Swarm technology for weeks. The machines were incredibly advanced, but they had one major weakness. Admiral Sullivan, you need to see this, Rachel said over the communication link. She was a small woman with thick glasses and hands that never stopped moving when she got excited. I figured out how the Void Swarm thinks. Explain it in simple terms, Doctor. Admiral Sullivan replied from her command center on Earth.
That!
Machines learn by watching patterns. They see how enemy ships move, how weapons fire, how soldiers attack. Then they calculate the most logical response to each pattern. Within minutes, they can predict exactly what their enemies will do next. That's why conventional tactics don't work against them, the Admiral said. Exactly.
That!
But here's the important part. They can only learn from logical patterns. Their programming assumes that all intelligent behavior follows mathematical rules. They can adapt to any strategy that makes sense. Rachel pulled up a display showing brain scans of different species. Look at these. Alien minds are beautiful and organized. They think in straight lines. They make plans and follow them. They solve problems by breaking them down into logical steps. She switched to a human brain scan. Now look at this. Human. Brains are messy. We think in circles and loops, make plans and then ignore them, solve problems by trying random things until something works. You're saying we're too chaotic for them to understand? I'm saying we're not intelligent in the way their programming defines intelligence. To the Void Swarm, human tactics look like random noise. They can't adapt to strategies that don't make logical sense. Back on Zarian 3, Colonel Parker's team had reached the underground city. The Bentharian survivors were huddled in the deepest tunnels, slowly dying from heat and poison gas. When the humans appeared, the aliens thought they were hallucinating. "How are you alive?" asked the Bentharian leader, a tall creature with beautiful silver skin that was now gray with sickness. "The surface is impossible to survive. Our best soldiers died in minutes." "We're from Earth," Sam explained, while his team set up breathing equipment for the aliens. "This is actually pretty mild compared to some places back home. Earth, but Earth is a death world. Nothing should be able to live there." "That's what makes us good at this job," Sam replied. "When you grow up in a place that tries to kill you every day, you learn to survive in places that would kill anyone else." The rescue took 12 hours. The humans carried aliens through tunnels that collapsed behind them. They walked across floors that melted under their feet. They breathed air that would have dissolved alien lungs. When they finally reached the surface, 1,700 Bentharian civilians were alive and safe. The alien rescue coordinators could not believe what they were seeing. Impossible missions were becoming routine for human teams. Planets that had been written off as lost were being saved. People who should have been dead were being brought home alive. On the military front, Sergeant Tony Rodriguez was showing alien soldiers how humans fought on the ground. Tony was Lisa Rodriguez's younger brother, but where she was a scientist, he was a Marine who loved a good fight. "The key is not to think too much," Tony explained to a group of confused alien officers. They were standing in the ruins of a Void Swarm factory that his team had just destroyed. "Your people try to make perfect plans. You calculate the best. Approach the safest route, the most efficient attack." A tall alien with 4 arms raised one of them. "That is how intelligent beings solve problems." "How else would you do it?" "Like this," Tony said, pulling up a recording of his team's attack. "On the factory, we didn't make a plan. We just looked at the target and asked ourselves, what would a bunch of angry animals do?" The recording showed human Marines attacking the factory in ways that made no sense. They came from 6 different directions at once. Some used explosives, while others used knives. Some attacked in groups, while others worked alone. Some were sneaky, while others made as much noise as possible. "But this is chaos," protested another alien officer. "There is no strategy, no coordination, no logic." "Exactly," Tony grinned, "and that's why it worked. The machines tried to calculate our attack patterns, but there weren't any patterns to calculate. Every Marine was basically making it up as they went along." The alien officers looked at each other with confusion and worry. One of them spoke quietly. "Are you saying that humans succeed by acting like mindless beasts?" Tony's grin got wider. "Not mindless. We're very smart beasts. But we learned our tactics from surviving on a world full of things that wanted to eat us. When a dinosaur is chasing you, you don't make a plan. You just run, and you try whatever crazy thing might work. Ambassador? Lucy Anderson was having similar conversations with alien diplomats. She was humanity's first official representative to the Galactic Assembly. She was trying to explain 300 years of human history in space. You're telling us that humans have been present in galactic affairs for centuries? Asked Ambassador Sci-fi. His crystal body was flickering with colors that showed confusion and amazement. We've been everywhere, Lucy confirmed. Every major crisis, every impossible rescue, every mysterious solution to an unsolvable problem, there was probably a human team involved. But why hide from us? Lucy's expression became sad, because when we first tried to join the galactic community, you told us we were monsters. You said Earth was too dangerous and humans were too violent to be trusted around civilized species. So you decided to help us anyway, but in secret? We couldn't just ignore suffering because you were afraid of us. So we created false identities. In fake companies, we built ships that looked alien on the outside, but used human technology inside. We saved people and solved problems, then disappeared before anyone could ask questions. Sci-fi was quiet for a long moment. We were wrong about you. You were scared, Lucy replied. You had good reasons to be scared. Humans are dangerous. Earth is a terrible place that kills most visitors. But being dangerous and being evil are not the same thing. Dr. Morgan's voice interrupted the conversation through the communication system. Ambassador Anderson, I need to share my research with the Assembly. I've discovered something important about the Void Swarm. What did you find, Doctor? The machines have a fatal weakness. They can only adapt to logical, predictable strategies. But human tactics evolve from survival instincts, not military theory. We fight like cornered animals, not like organized armies. And that's good? That's very good. The Void Swarm literally cannot understand us. The programming defines intelligence. As logical, pattern-based behavior, human combat instincts are too chaotic and unpredictable for them to process. Lucy felt a smile growing on her face. So our greatest weakness is actually our greatest strength? In this case, yes. The same instincts that make other species think. We're barbaric savages are exactly what we need to defeat the machines. Ambassador Sci-fi's colors shifted to show hope for the first time in months. Are you saying humans can actually defeat the Void Swarm? Dr. Morgan's voice was confident. I'm saying the machines were designed to fight logical enemies. They've never encountered anything like humans before. We might be the only species in the galaxy that can beat them. The Void Swarm's main construction facility hung in space near a black hole at the center of the galaxy. It was a massive structure, bigger than most moons, where the machines built new versions of themselves. For 3 months, no attack had been able to get close to it. The facility was protected by millions of machine ships and weapons that could destroy entire fleets. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the impossible fortress grow larger on his screen. Around him, the largest fleet in galactic history was preparing for what everyone knew would be the final battle. Human ships flew alongside alien vessels in formations that would have been unthinkable just months ago. Admiral, said his communications officer. Commander Lisa Rodriguez had been promoted to serve as his second-in-command for this mission.
Oh.
The aliens are asking if you're sure about this plan. Jake looked at the tactical display. Dr. Morgan's. Research had given them the key to defeating the Void Swarm, but the plan was so crazy that even humans thought it was insane. Tell them we're as sure as anyone can be about something this ridiculous, Jake replied. Remind them that ridiculous plans are what humans do best. The first phase of the attack began exactly as the aliens expected. The combined fleet approached the facility in perfect formation, using textbook military tactics. The alien ships fired their weapons in precise patterns while human vessels provided support from logical positions. The Void Swarm responded exactly as Dr. Morgan had predicted. Within minutes, the machines had analyzed every attack pattern and calculated perfect countermeasures. The mechanical defenders began destroying alien ships with terrifying efficiency. To any observer, it looked like the galaxy's last hope was being crushed, but this was all part of the plan. Deep inside the facility, Mr. Chief Danny Williams was leading the most dangerous camping trip in galactic history. His team of 12 human Marines had somehow managed to sneak inside. The massive structure, while everyone was watching the space battle outside. "Remember, we're not soldiers today," Danny whispered to his team as they crawled through ventilation. Shafts that were filled with poisonous gas were just some humans trying to survive in a hostile environment. The Marines were not using military tactics. Instead, they were employing pure survival instincts. They moved like people lost in a dangerous cave system, looking for food, water, and shelter. They avoided the main corridors and traveled through maintenance tunnels that were too small for normal use. They set up temporary camps in hidden spaces, and moved only when they had to. To the Void Swarm's central intelligence, the humans did not look like invaders. The machines could not recognize survival behavior as a military strategy because their programming had never encountered anything like it. The 12 Marines appeared to be engaged in random, meaningless activities, rather than a coordinated attack. "Target located," Danny whispered into his communicator. After 6 hours of wandering through the facility like lost tourists, they had found the central core. It was a massive computer brain that controlled every machine in the galaxy.
How do you?
"We destroy something that big?" asked Corporal Sarah Johnson. She was looking at a computer core the size of a building, surrounded by defenses that could stop any known weapon. "We don't destroy it," Danny replied with a grin. "We give it a problem it can't solve." Back in space, the battle was going badly for the galaxy's forces. Dr. Emma Stone was working frantically in her medical bay as wounded ships limped back from the fighting. The Void Swarm had adapted to every tactic the aliens could think of. It looked like certain defeat, but Emma knew this was exactly what was supposed to happen. The worse the conventional battle went, the better it was for Danny's team inside the facility. "Admiral Morrison," she called over the communication system, "I'm seeing massive casualties out there. How much longer do we need to keep this up?" "Long as it takes," Jake replied. Danny's team needs the machines to be completely focused on conventional threats. The moment the Void Swarm realizes what they're really doing, the plan fails. Inside the facility, Danny's team was setting up their equipment around the central core. But they were not installing bombs or weapons. Instead, they were creating what looked like a primitive campsite, complete with small fires, food storage, and sleeping areas. "This is the craziest thing I've ever done," muttered Sergeant Mark Taylor as he started a small cooking fire, right next to the galaxy's most dangerous computer. "And I once wrestled a volcano shark." "That's the point," Danny explained. "The Void Swarm expects logical military behavior. Bombs, computer viruses, coordinated attacks. But we're not doing any of that. We're just camping." The central computer was becoming increasingly confused. Its sensors detected human activity near the core, but the activity did not match any known threat patterns. The humans appeared to be cooking food, telling stories, and preparing to sleep. None of this made sense as an attack strategy. While the computer tried to analyze this impossible situation, the humans were actually implementing Dr. Morgan's real plan. Every human action was designed to create small amounts of chaos in the facility's systems. The cooking fires were producing electromagnetic interference. The humans moving around randomly were triggering sensors in unpredictable patterns. Their casual conversations were creating data noise that the computer could not filter out. "It's working," whispered Danny as he watched the facility's status displays starting to flicker. "The central intelligence is trying to process our behavior, but there's nothing logical to process. We're overloading its analysis systems just by being ourselves." The Void Swarm had been designed to fight organized enemies who followed logical patterns. But humans did not fight like organized enemies. They fought like survivors who were making it up as they went along. And when humans were just trying to survive in a hostile environment, they created exactly the kind of beautiful chaos that machine intelligence could not understand. Outside, the space battle was reaching its climax. The alien fleets were being systematically destroyed, but their sacrifice was buying precious time. Admiral Morrison watched ship after ship fall to the adapted machine defenses. "Sir, the Carillion fleet is down to 30% strength," reported Lisa Rodriguez. "They're asking permission to retreat."
Active?
Jake replied.
Out!
"Tell them to hold position for 10 more minutes. That's all we need." Inside the facility, those 10 minutes felt like hours. Danny's team continued their bizarre Camping trip, while the central computer tried desperately to understand what they were doing, the machine intelligence was running billions of calculations per second, trying to find the logical pattern in human behavior. But there was no logical pattern. The humans were just being human, chaotic, unpredictable, and impossible to analyze. With mathematical precision, systems failing across the facility, reported Corporal Johnson as she watched the status displays around them start going dark. The central computer is burning out its own processors trying to understand us. How much longer? Asked Sergeant Taylor. Any second now, Danny replied. The computer is about to realize that we're not following any rules it can recognize. When that happens, it's going to have what humans call a nervous breakdown. Suddenly, every light in the facility began flashing. Alarms started screaming in languages that no human could understand. The massive structure began shaking as internal systems started shutting down randomly. That's our cue to leave, Danny announced. Time to go camping somewhere else. The 12 Marines gathered their equipment and began moving toward the exit, routes they had scouted earlier. Behind them, the central computer was experiencing what could only be described as a mechanical panic attack. It could not comprehend opponents who did not follow logical rules, and the effort to understand them was destroying its ability to function. In space, the results were immediate and dramatic. The Void Swarm ships stopped moving and coordinated. Patterns. Some continued fighting, but others began attacking each other. A few simply shut down completely. The perfect machine intelligence that had terrorized the galaxy was falling apart because it had encountered something it could not process. Pure human chaos. All ships begin final assault, Admiral Morrison ordered. The machines are confused. Hit them now while they can't coordinate their defenses. The battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. Human ships led the charge using tactics that made no sense but worked perfectly against the confused machines.
Ow.
They attacked from impossible angles, retreated when they should have advanced, and advanced when retreat was the logical choice. Dr. Stone coordinated the medical response as the galaxy's forces finally began winning. Her techniques, developed for treating Earth's deadliest injuries, saved thousands of lives that conventional medicine would have written off as hopeless. 6 hours later, the great facility was a drifting wreck. The Void Swarm's central intelligence was permanently damaged, and the machine ships throughout the galaxy had lost their coordination. Some would continue to be dangerous, but they would never again pose a threat to galactic civilization. Ambassador Lucy Anderson addressed the Galactic Assembly one final time. But the tone was very different now. Instead of desperate pleas for help, she was discussing humanity's place in the post-war galaxy.